Tonight's story comes from Harold, a 72-year-old retired postal worker who thought Microsoft was genuinely trying to help him protect his computer. He had no idea he was about to become the victim of one of the most elaborate tech support scams his local police department had ever seen. Harold was enjoying his morning coffee and reading news online when a pop-up window suddenly filled his screen. Bold red letters warned, "Critical security alert. Your computer has been infected with dangerous malware. Do not turn off your computer. Call Microsoft immediately." A robotic voice began repeating the warning through his speakers, making his heart race with panic. The message included a phone number that looked official. The pop-up looked incredibly legitimate, complete with Microsoft logos and professional formatting. Harold had always been careful about computer security, so this felt like his worst nightmare coming true. The warning claimed hackers were accessing his personal files and bank information at that very moment. Terrified of losing his life savings, Harold immediately called the displayed number without thinking twice. "Microsoft Security Department, this is Agent Williams," answered a man with a slight accent. "I see you're calling about the critical security breach on your computer. We detected suspicious activity from your IP address and immediately sent the warning to protect you." The caller sounded professional and knowledgeable, using technical terms that impressed Harold. "Sir, we need to act fast. The hackers are currently downloading your personal files." Harold felt his stomach drop. "What I need to do? I have all my tax documents and banking information on here." The caller guided him through downloading remote access software, explaining it would allow Microsoft's security team to remove the viruses immediately. Harold watched as his cursor moved on its own, opening folders and running programs he'd never seen before. "Mr. Harold, this is worse than we thought," Agent Williams said gravely. "The hackers have installed advanced malware that's already copied your banking passwords. We need to secure your accounts immediately before they steal everything." Harold watched helplessly as the scammer opened his command prompt, showing lines of code that meant nothing to him but looked terrifyingly official. Something felt wrong when Agent Williams demanded immediate payment for the emergency security service. Harold had expected Microsoft's help to be free, but the scammer explained that premium protection cost $250, payable only through gift cards for security reasons. When Harold hesitated, the caller became aggressive, claiming the hackers would empty his bank account within hours. Harold's daughter Lisa called during the middle of the scam. When she heard what was happening, she immediately recognized the fraud. "Dad, hang up right now. Microsoft never calls customers, and they definitely don't ask for gift card payments." Harold felt foolish and angry as the reality hit him. He'd given a complete stranger access to his computer and nearly handed over hundreds of dollars. The next day, Harold worked with his bank and local police to report the incident. Detective Martinez explained that the same scammer ring had targeted over 50 elderly residents in their county alone, stealing more than $30,000 total. Harold's quick thinking in consulting his daughter had saved him from financial disaster, and his report helped authorities track down the operations call center. Harold now volunteers at the senior center, teaching other retirees about tech support scams. "These criminals prey on our fear and lack of technical knowledge," he tells his audiences. "Remember, real tech companies never call you first, and they never demand gift cards as payment. When in doubt, hang up and call someone you trust." Meet Sarah, a 34-year-old nurse practitioner who never expected that a simple computer slowdown would lead her into a web of deception that nearly cost her career and savings. Her experience with fake tech support would teach her that sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. Sarah was updating patient records on her home computer after a long shift when her laptop began running unusably slow. Pop-up ads filled her screen, and strange programs kept opening on their own. Frustrated and worried about protecting her patients' confidential information, she searched online for computer repair help and found what appeared to be an official tech support website. The website looked professional and trustworthy, featuring testimonials, certifications, and a prominent 24/7 expert support banner. Sarah called their support line, desperate to fix her computer before her next shift. The representative, who identified himself as tech specialist Mark, spoke with authority and immediately diagnosed her problem over the phone. "Ma'am, your computer has been compromised by a sophisticated ransomware attack," Mark explained. "I can see from our diagnostic tools that hackers are actively mining cryptocurrency using your system and stealing personal data. As a healthcare worker, you're especially at risk because criminals target medical professionals for identity theft. His technical explanation sounded convincing and terrifying. Mark guided Sarah through installing remote access software, claiming he needed to examine her system thoroughly. She watched as her screen flickered and programs opened automatically. "This is very serious," Mark said gravely. "The hackers have installed rootkits that are invisible to standard antivirus software. Your patient's medical records could be compromised, which could cost you your nursing license." Sarah's blood ran cold. Her nursing career was everything to her, and the thought of losing her license over a computer security breach was devastating. Mark explained that their advanced threat removal service could eliminate the infection completely, but it required immediate action. The service cost $800, payable through wire transfer for instant processing. Red flags started appearing when Mark refused to provide written documentation or accept credit card payment. When Sarah asked to call back later after consulting with her IT-savvy brother, Mark became pushy and aggressive. "Ma'am, every minute you delay gives the hackers more time to steal your patient's personal information. Do you want to be responsible for a massive HIPAA violation?" That threat made Sarah pause. She'd never heard of legitimate tech companies using fear tactics about professional licenses. She told Mark she needed to verify his company's credentials and hung up. When she tried calling the number back later, a different person answered and claimed they'd never heard of tech specialist Mark. Sarah's brother confirmed her suspicions when he examined her computer. "There's no ransomware or cryptocurrency mining software," he explained. "You just had some basic adware that any free antivirus program could have removed in minutes. That guy was trying to scam you big time. The legitimate computer cleaning took less than an hour and cost nothing." The next week, Sarah learned that the same fake tech support company had targeted 3 other nurses at her hospital. One colleague had actually paid the scammers $900 before realizing the fraud. Sarah reported the scam to the FTC and her state's Consumer Protection Agency, helping to build a case against the criminal operation. Sarah now advocates for cybersecurity awareness in healthcare settings. "As medical professionals, we're trusted with sensitive information, which makes us attractive targets for scammers," she explains to her colleagues. Real tech support never uses scare tactics about professional licenses, and legitimate companies always provide written estimates and accept standard payment methods. This is about Marcus, who never expected that clicking on a single advertisement would spiral into a nightmare that almost destroyed his small business and taught him hard lessons about trusting strangers on the internet. Marcus owned a small accounting firm and prided himself on staying current with technology to serve his clients better. When his business computer started showing occasional error messages, he decided to search online for optimization software. He clicked on an ad promising free PC speed boost, trusted by millions, and downloaded what appeared to be legitimate system software. Within minutes of installing the program, Marcus's computer screen was flooded with alarming warnings about detected threats. The software claimed to have found hundreds of viruses, malware infections, and registry errors that were severely compromising his system. A prominent "Call now for immediate assistance" button displayed a support phone number for the software company. Concerned about protecting his clients' financial data, Marcus called the support line immediately. The representative, identifying herself as Senior Technician Jennifer, spoke with impressive technical knowledge and urgency. "Mr. Marcus, I'm looking at your system remotely, and this is one of the worst infections I've seen. The malware has created backdoors that hackers are using to access your files right now." Jennifer guided Marcus through downloading additional diagnostic tools, which revealed even more supposed threats. "Your business data is at serious risk," she warned. "The hackers have specifically targeted accounting firms because they contain valuable financial information. We need to implement our advanced business protection suite immediately to prevent a catastrophic data breach." The fear of losing his clients' trust and facing potential lawsuits motivated Marcus to act quickly. Jennifer explained that the business protection service cost $1,500, but would provide lifetime security monitoring and guaranteed protection against all future threats. She emphasized that time was critical and offered a limited-time discount if he paid immediately. Marcus hesitated when Jennifer insisted on payment through cryptocurrency, claiming it was more secure for business transactions. When he suggested using a credit card or check, she became evasive and stressed that the hackers could intercept traditional payment methods. The urgency in her voice and the terrifying warnings on his screen pushed him toward compliance. Something clicked when Jennifer asked for access to his business banking software to verify the security of his financial accounts. Marcus realized that no legitimate tech company would ever need access to his bank accounts to fix computer problems. He told Jennifer he needed to consult with his IT consultant and ended the call immediately. Marcus's IT consultant laughed when he examined the computer. "This is classic scareware," he explained. "The program you downloaded creates fake error messages to scare you into calling their support line. There are no real threats on your system." The consultant removed the fake software in minutes, and all the terrifying warnings disappeared instantly. The next day, Marcus discovered that the same scammers had targeted several other small business owners in his area. One restaurant owner had paid $2,000 before realizing the scam, and a construction company had lost $3,000 to the same fake tech support scheme. Marcus reported the fraud to local law enforcement and the Better Business Bureau. Detective Rodriguez explained that these scareware operations were increasingly targeting small businesses because owners often felt more pressure to protect sensitive client data. Marcus's detailed report helped authorities identify the criminal network's payment processing methods. Marcus now shares his experience with other small business owners through his local chamber of commerce. Criminals know that business owners fear data breaches and regulatory violations, he tells his audiences. They exploit that fear to pressure us into making hasty decisions. Always verify any security threat through independent sources before taking action or making payments. Robert's nightmare began when he received an official-looking letter in the mail claiming his computer had been broadcasting illegal content across the internet. The 58-year-old insurance adjuster had no idea this innocent-looking notice would lead him down a rabbit hole of deception and extortion. The letter bore impressive logos and government-style formatting, warning Robert that his home internet connection had been flagged for distributing copyrighted material and potentially illegal content. It provided a case number and instructed him to call their cybercrimes investigation unit within 48 hours to avoid federal prosecution and massive fines. Robert's hands shook as he read the letter. As someone who occasionally downloaded movies and music, he worried he might have accidentally accessed pirated content. The letter's official appearance and specific legal language convinced him this was a legitimate federal investigation. Terrified of criminal charges, he called the provided number immediately. Federal Cybercrimes Division, Investigator Thompson speaking, answered a serious-sounding man. "I see you're calling about case number RC 4847. Mr. Robert, I have to tell you, this is a very serious situation. Our monitoring systems detected your IP address distributing child exploitation material and terrorist propaganda. These are federal crimes carrying mandatory prison sentences." Robert felt the room spinning. There must be some mistake. I would never access that kind of content. I just use my computer for email and watching Netflix. Investigator Thompson's tone remained grave as he explained that hackers often use innocent people's internet connections to hide their illegal activities. "The good news is that we believe you're a victim here, not a perpetrator," Thompson continued. "But we need to verify that your computer hasn't been compromised and used as a relay point for these criminal networks. I'm going to connect you with our technical forensics unit to run a secure scan of your system." Thompson transferred Robert to tech specialist Williams, who explained that they needed to examine his computer remotely to clear him of suspicion. Williams guided Robert through downloading federal forensic software that would prove his innocence. Robert watched nervously as his screen flickered and programs opened automatically. "Mr. Robert, I've got bad news," Williams said after several minutes. "Your computer is definitely compromised. The hackers installed sophisticated tunneling software that's been routing illegal content through your connection for months. Without immediate remediation, you're looking at federal charges and your name being added to several watch lists. The fear of prison and being labeled as a criminal motivated Robert to cooperate fully." Williams explained that their emergency clean slate protocol could remove all traces of the illegal activity and provide legal documentation proving his innocence. The service cost $3,000, but would guarantee protection from prosecution. Robert's suspicion grew when Williams demanded payment through Bitcoin ATMs, claiming that traditional payment methods could be monitored by the criminals who had compromised his system. When Robert asked to speak with a supervisor or see official badges, Williams became hostile and threatened to flag his case as non-cooperative. That threat made Robert realize something was wrong. He told Williams he needed to verify the investigation through his local FBI office and hung up. When Robert called the real FBI, they confirmed his suspicions. No federal agency would ever demand Bitcoin payments or threaten prosecution over the phone. The FBI agent explained that fake law enforcement scams were becoming increasingly sophisticated, often targeting people with technical-sounding legal threats. Robert's detailed report helped federal investigators track the scammer operation, which had defrauded over 200 people across 12 states for more than $500,000. Robert now speaks at community centers about recognizing fake law enforcement scams. These criminals count on our fear of legal trouble to make us act irrationally, he explains. Real federal agents don't call you out of the blue demanding Bitcoin payments. Always verify any legal claims through official channels before taking any action. When Linda received a call about suspicious activity on her computer, the 45-year-old elementary school librarian thought she was finally getting the help she desperately needed. Her aging laptop had been acting strangely for weeks, and she assumed this was follow-up service from her recent antivirus purchase. Linda had been frustrated with her computer's performance lately. Programs crashed randomly, websites loaded slowly, and strange pop-ups appeared while she was preparing lesson materials for her students. When a friendly-sounding woman called claiming to be from Advanced Computer Protection Services, Linda felt relieved that someone was proactively monitoring her system. "Hello, Mrs. Linda. This is Supervisor Patricia from your Computer Security Monitoring Service," the caller began. "Our systems have detected unusual activity on your device that suggests a potential security breach. We're calling our premium customers to provide immediate assistance before any data loss occurs." Patricia's professional demeanor and knowledge of Linda's recent antivirus purchase made the call seem legitimate. Patricia explained that their monitoring systems had identified several suspicious programs running on Linda's computer, possibly installed by hackers trying to steal her personal information. "As an educator, you're particularly at risk because criminals target school personnel to access student databases and financial aid information," she warned. Linda's concern deepened when Patricia mentioned the potential risk to her students' information. Even though she only worked on personal projects at home, the thought of being responsible for any security breach at her school terrified her. Patricia offered to run a complimentary diagnostic scan to identify the exact threats and provide solutions. Following Patricia's instructions, Linda downloaded remote access software that would allow the security team to examine her system thoroughly. She watched as her cursor moved independently, opening folders and running scans that displayed alarming results. Multiple threats appeared on her screen, each labeled with frightening descriptions like banking Trojan and identity harvester. "Mrs. Linda, this is quite serious," Patricia said after reviewing the scan results. "The hackers have installed advanced persistent threats that are specifically designed to steal educational credentials and financial information. Left unchecked, these could compromise not just your personal data, but potentially your school's entire network when you connect to work." The suggestion that her personal computer problems could affect her workplace pushed Linda toward immediate action. Patricia explained that their educational professional protection package could eliminate all threats and provide ongoing monitoring for $600. She emphasized that waiting even a day could result in irreversible data theft. Red flags emerged when Patricia insisted on payment through gift cards, explaining that credit card transactions could be intercepted by the same hackers who had compromised Linda's system. When Linda questioned this unusual payment method, Patricia became increasingly pushy and started using scare tactics about Linda losing her job over a security breach. Linda's grown son happened to call during the middle of the scam conversation. When she explained what was happening, he immediately recognized the fraud. "Mom, hang up right now," he said firmly. "No legitimate security company calls customers randomly or demands gift card payments. That's a classic scam." The realization that she'd been manipulated made Linda feel embarrassed and angry. She immediately disconnected the remote access software and ran legitimate antivirus scans, which found no actual threats on her system. The computer's performance issues turned out to be simply due to too many programs running at startup. Linda reported the scam to the Federal Trade Commission and her local police department. Officer Martinez explained that these fake security monitoring scams were particularly effective because they contacted people who had recently purchased legitimate antivirus software, making the follow-up calls seem credible. Linda now includes cybersecurity awareness in her library programming, teaching both students and parents about recognizing tech support scams. Education is our best defense against these criminals, she tells her audiences. They exploit our trust and fear to make quick money, but knowledge makes us much harder targets. Here's what happened to George after he clicked on what seemed like a helpful computer tutorial, only to discover he'd opened the door to an elaborate scam that would test everything he thought he knew about internet safety. George, a 67-year-old retired mechanic, had been struggling to understand his new Windows computer. His grandson had set it up for him, but George felt overwhelmed by all the features and settings. When he found a YouTube video titled Windows Secrets Every User Should Know, he was excited to finally learn some useful tips for his daily computing. The video seemed professional and informative, teaching George several legitimate Windows shortcuts and hidden features. However, near the end, the presenter mentioned a special diagnostic tool that could optimize his computer's performance automatically. The tool's website looked official, complete with customer testimonials and security badges that made George feel confident about downloading it. Within hours of installing the optimization software, George's computer began displaying constant warning messages about system errors, security vulnerabilities, and performance issues. The messages appeared faster than he could close them, and his desktop wallpaper changed to a red warning screen claiming his computer was severely compromised. A pop-up window suggested calling their premium support hotline for immediate assistance. Feeling overwhelmed and frustrated, George called the number, hoping to get help understanding what had gone wrong with his computer. The representative who answered spoke with authority and immediately began asking detailed questions about his system. "Mr. George, I can see from our monitoring systems that your computer is in critical condition," the support representative explained. The diagnostic tool revealed multiple security breaches and system corruptions that require immediate professional intervention. Without proper treatment, your computer could become permanently damaged. The representative, who identified himself as Senior Technician Kevin, guided George through additional diagnostic steps that revealed even more alarming problems. Kevin explained that George's computer had been infected with advanced persistent malware that was slowly destroying his files and stealing his personal information. "The good news is that we caught this early," Kevin continued. "Our advanced system recovery service can completely restore your computer and protect it from future attacks. The service normally costs $1,200, but because you're a senior citizen, we can offer it for $800 if you act today." George hesitated at the high price, but Kevin's warnings about permanent data loss and identity theft scared him into compliance. Kevin explained that the payment needed to be made through a wire transfer or prepaid debit cards for security reasons, claiming that traditional payment methods could be intercepted by the same criminals who had infected his computer. Something felt wrong when Kevin began pressuring George to make the payment immediately, claiming that waiting even a few hours could result in complete system failure. When George asked to think about it overnight, Kevin became aggressive and started threatening additional charges for emergency weekend service. George's neighbor, a retired teacher named Martha, happened to visit during the phone call. When she heard the conversation, she immediately recognized the scam tactics her computer-savvy daughter had warned her about. Martha convinced George to hang up and seek a second opinion from a legitimate computer repair shop. The local computer technician laughed when he examined George's system. "This is just scareware," he explained. "The program you downloaded creates fake error messages to scare you into calling their support line. Your computer is actually fine." He removed the malicious software in minutes, and all the terrifying warnings disappeared. George learned that the same scammer operation had targeted dozens of seniors in his community, collecting over $40,000 in fraudulent payments. His experience helped local police understand the scammer's tactics and led to warnings being distributed at senior centers throughout the area. George now volunteers with AARP's fraud prevention program, sharing his story with other seniors. "These criminals specifically target older adults because they assume we're not tech-savvy," he explains. "But age brings wisdom, and we can learn to recognize these scams. Always get a second opinion before paying for computer repairs, especially when someone pressures you to act immediately." Let me tell you about Amanda, who discovered that answering a simple pop-up survey about her internet service would lead her into a maze of technical lies and financial demands that nearly cost her family's entire emergency fund. Amanda, a 31-year-old working mother of two, was researching birthday party ideas online when a pop-up window appeared claiming to be from her internet service provider. The survey asked about her satisfaction with connection speeds and offered a free internet performance analysis, as a thank you for participating. Always looking for ways to improve her family's internet experience, Amanda completed the survey. Within minutes of submitting the survey, Amanda received a phone call from someone claiming to be from her ISP's technical support department. "Hello, Mrs. Amanda. This is Network Specialist David calling about your recent performance survey. Our analysis shows some concerning issues with your home network that are affecting your internet speed and security." David explained that their monitoring systems had detected unauthorized devices connecting to Amanda's wireless network, likely neighbors stealing her internet or hackers attempting to access her family's personal information. He offered to run a comprehensive security scan of all her connected devices to identify and eliminate these threats. Following David's instructions, Amanda downloaded network analysis software that would help identify the security vulnerabilities in her home network. The software immediately began displaying alarming results, showing multiple unauthorized access points and suspicious data transfers that David claimed were evidence of active hacking attempts. "Mrs. Amanda, this is more serious than we initially thought," David said gravely. "The hackers have gained access to your smart TV, your children's tablets, and even your home security system. They're currently monitoring your family's activities and could access your banking information, photos, and personal communications." The thought of strangers watching her children through their devices made Amanda feel sick with worry. David explained that their home network security package could eliminate all threats and create an impenetrable firewall around her family's internet connection. The service cost $900, but included lifetime protection and 24/7 monitoring. Amanda hesitated at the high cost, but David's descriptions of the potential dangers to her children motivated her to consider the investment. He explained that the hackers could access her children's school accounts, steal their identity information, or even use their devices to watch them without the family's knowledge. Red flags appeared when David insisted on immediate payment through gift cards, claiming that traditional payment methods could be traced by the hackers who had compromised her network. When Amanda questioned this unusual requirement, David became impatient and suggested that she didn't take her family's safety seriously. Amanda's husband Tom arrived home during the middle of the phone call. When he heard about the supposed network security threats, he immediately became suspicious. "Honey, our ISP doesn't randomly call customers about network security," he whispered, "and they definitely don't sell security packages over the phone." Tom took the phone and began asking David specific technical questions about their network configuration and account details. When David couldn't provide accurate information about their actual internet service plan, Tom realized the entire call was fraudulent. He told David they would contact their ISP directly and hung up immediately. Amanda felt embarrassed and angry that she'd been manipulated by someone exploiting her concerns about her children's safety. Tom helped her run legitimate security scans on their devices, which found no actual threats or unauthorized access. Their network was completely secure, and no hackers had ever accessed their system. The next day, Amanda reported the scam to the Federal Trade Commission and her actual internet service provider. The ISP security department explained that these fake ISP scams were becoming increasingly common, with criminals using customer surveys to gather information and create believable cover stories for their fraud attempts. Amanda now shares her experience with other parents in her community, particularly through her children's school parent groups. "These scammers know exactly how to exploit our fears about our children's safety online," she explains. "Always verify any security concerns through your actual service provider's official customer service line, not through numbers provided by callers." You won't believe what happened to Frank when he tried to fix a simple printer problem and ended up in a 3-hour phone marathon with scammers who nearly convinced him to give them access to his entire home office and business finances. Frank, a 52-year-old freelance consultant, was preparing for an important client presentation when his wireless printer suddenly stopped working. Despite trying all the basic troubleshooting steps he could think of, the printer remained unresponsive. Frustrated and pressed for time, Frank searched online for printer support and found what appeared to be the official manufacturer's technical support website. The website looked professional and legitimate, featuring the printer manufacturer's logos, model-specific troubleshooting guides, and a prominent 24/7 expert support phone number. Frank called the number, expecting to reach the manufacturer's official technical support department for help with his printer connectivity issues. "Thank you for calling Advanced Printer Solutions. "This is Senior Technician Robert," answered a friendly voice. "I understand you're having issues with your wireless printer. Let me pull up your device information and we'll get this resolved quickly." Robert's confident tone and immediate offer to help made Frank feel optimistic about getting his printer working. Robert guided Frank through several diagnostic steps, but each attempt seemed to reveal additional problems with Frank's computer network. "Mr. Frank, I'm seeing some concerning issues here," Robert explained. "Your printer problems are actually symptoms of a larger network security breach that's affecting all your connected devices." According to Robert, hackers had infiltrated Frank's home network through his printer's wireless connection and were using it as a gateway to access his other devices. "This is a common attack vector that criminals use to target home-based businesses," Robert warned. "They know that consultants like yourself often have valuable client information stored on your computers." Frank's concern deepened when Robert mentioned the potential risk to his clients' confidential information. As a consultant handling sensitive business data, Frank took security very seriously and couldn't afford to have client information compromised. Robert offered to run a comprehensive network security scan to identify and eliminate all threats. Following Robert's instructions, Frank downloaded network diagnostic software that immediately began displaying alarming security warnings. The scan results showed multiple intrusion attempts, data exfiltration processes, and unauthorized remote access sessions that Robert claimed were evidence of active hacking attempts against Frank's business. "This is quite sophisticated," Robert said after reviewing the results. "The hackers have installed advanced persistent threats that are specifically designed to steal business data and financial information. We need to implement our business network protection protocol immediately to prevent catastrophic data loss." Robert explained that their business protection service cost $1,500 but would completely secure Frank's network and provide ongoing monitoring to prevent future attacks. He emphasized that every minute of delay gave the hackers more time to steal Frank's clients' information and potentially destroy his consulting business. Red flags emerged when Robert insisted on payment through cryptocurrency or wire transfer, claiming that credit card payments could be intercepted by the same hackers who had compromised Frank's network. When Frank suggested scheduling the service for later in the week, Robert became aggressive and warned about imminent, catastrophic data destruction. Frank's business partner called during the middle of the conversation to discuss their client presentation. When Frank explained the security emergency, his partner immediately recognized the scam. "Frank, that's complete nonsense," his partner said. "Printers don't create network security vulnerabilities, and legitimate tech companies don't demand cryptocurrency payments." The realization that he'd been deceived made Frank feel foolish and angry. He immediately hung up on Robert and contacted the actual printer manufacturer's support line. The real technician fixed his printer connectivity issue in under 10 minutes with a simple driver update that cost nothing. Frank learned that the fake support website had been designed to look exactly like the manufacturer's official site, complete with stolen logos and copied content. The scammers had even registered a similar domain name to trick customers searching for legitimate support. Frank's report helped the manufacturer identify and shut down multiple fake support sites. Frank now advises other small business owners about recognizing tech support scams through his professional network. These criminals specifically target business owners because they know we're afraid of data breaches and client confidentiality violations, he explains. Always verify technical support through the manufacturer's official website or documentation, not through search engine results. Marcus's nightmare began when he received an urgent email claiming that suspicious activity had been detected on his home computer network. The 41-year-old accountant thought his firm's IT department was alerting him to a potential security breach that could jeopardize his client's financial data. The email appeared to come from Network Security Monitoring Services and included official-looking logos and technical language that made it seem legitimate. It warned Marcus that his home computer had been flagged for unusual outbound data transmissions that suggested possible malware infection or unauthorized access by external parties. Marcus was particularly concerned because he occasionally worked from home on client files, and any security breach could violate professional confidentiality requirements and potentially end his career. The email included a phone number for their emergency response team and urged him to call immediately to prevent further data compromise. Network Security Emergency Line, this is Specialist Johnson, answered a professional-sounding man when Marcus called. "I see you're calling about the security alert for your home network." "Mr. Marcus, I have to tell you, this is quite serious. Our monitoring systems detected your IP address transmitting encrypted data packets to servers in Eastern Europe. Johnson explained that Marcus's computer had likely been compromised by sophisticated malware that was using his internet connection to relay stolen financial data from other victims. As an accounting professional, you're a high-value target for these criminal networks, Johnson warned. They specifically seek out financial professionals to use as unwitting accomplices in money laundering operations. The suggestion that he could be unknowingly involved in financial crimes terrified Marcus. Johnson offered to connect him with their forensic analysis team, who could examine his system remotely and determine the extent of the compromise. Marcus agreed, desperate to clear his name and protect his professional reputation. Following Johnson's instructions, Marcus downloaded forensic analysis software that would allow the security team to examine his computer for evidence of criminal activity. He watched nervously as his screen flickered and programs opened automatically, displaying scan results that seemed to confirm his worst fears. "Mr. Marcus, I've got some very concerning findings," Johnson said after several minutes of analysis. "The malware on your system has been logging all your keystrokes, including client passwords and financial account numbers. Worse yet, it's been transmitting this information to criminal servers for several months." Johnson explained that Marcus could face serious legal consequences if authorities discovered that his compromised computer had been used to facilitate financial crimes. "The good news is that we can completely clean your system and provide legal documentation proving that you were a victim, not a perpetrator," Johnson offered. The legal immunity and system restoration package cost $2,000 but would guarantee that Marcus's name would be cleared of any criminal association and his computer would be completely secured against future attacks. Johnson emphasized that time was critical because law enforcement agencies were already investigating the criminal network. Red flags appeared when Johnson demanded immediate payment through Bitcoin, claiming that traditional payment methods could be traced by the criminals who had compromised Marcus's system. When Marcus asked for written documentation or references, Johnson became evasive and started pressuring him to make a decision immediately. Marcus's suspicions grew when Johnson refused to provide any official badge numbers or agency contact information. "If you're really from a legitimate security organization, you should be able to verify your credentials," Marcus insisted. Johnson's response was to threaten that delays could result in Marcus being flagged as non-cooperative in the criminal investigation. That threat made Marcus realize he was being scammed. He told Johnson he would verify the investigation through official law enforcement channels and hung up. When Marcus contacted the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, they confirmed that no legitimate security agencies operate this way. The FBI agent explained that fake law enforcement scams targeting professionals were becoming increasingly sophisticated, often using career-specific threats to pressure victims into compliance. Marcus's detailed report helped federal investigators track similar scam operations that had defrauded dozens of other professionals. Marcus now speaks at professional development seminars about recognizing career-targeted scams. "These criminals research our professions and use our specific fears against us," he explains to fellow accountants. "Real law enforcement agencies don't call you out of the blue demanding Bitcoin payments. Always verify any legal claims through official channels." When Betty received a call warning that her grandson had been using her computer to access illegal websites, the 73-year-old retired teacher thought she was about to learn something terrible about the boy she'd helped raise. She had no idea she was actually hearing the opening lines of an elaborate scam. Betty lived alone but frequently had her teenage grandson Tommy visit on weekends. Tommy often used her computer to do homework and stay connected with his friends on social media. When a serious-sounding man called claiming to be from Internet Crimes Investigation Unit, Betty immediately feared that Tommy had gotten into serious trouble online. "Mrs. Betty, this is Detective Williams with the Cyber Crimes Division," the caller began. "We've been monitoring illegal activity originating from your home internet connection. Our investigation shows that someone in your household has been accessing prohibited content and participating in illegal file-sharing networks." Betty's heart sank as she listened to the detailed accusations. Detective Williams claimed that her IP address had been flagged for downloading copyrighted movies, accessing illegal gambling sites, and even viewing inappropriate content involving minors. "Ma'am, these are serious federal crimes that carry mandatory prison sentences," he warned. The thought of her beloved grandson facing criminal charges devastated Betty. "Please, Detective Williams, Tommy is a good boy. He wouldn't do anything illegal intentionally. Is there any way to resolve this without destroying his future? Betty pleaded, her voice trembling with emotion. Detective Williams adopted a sympathetic tone, explaining that he understood Betty's situation and wanted to help protect her grandson. Mrs. Betty, I've seen cases like this before. Often, young people don't realize the legal consequences of their online activities. The good news is that we can resolve this matter quietly if you cooperate with our investigation. Williams explained that Betty's computer contained evidence of the illegal activities and needed to be examined by their forensic team. He offered to connect her with forensic specialist Martinez, who could remotely analyze her system and remove any incriminating evidence before formal charges were filed. Following Williams's instructions, Betty downloaded remote access software that would allow the forensic team to examine her computer for illegal content. She watched anxiously as her screen flickered and programs opened automatically, hoping that the investigators would find proof of Tommy's innocence. Mrs. Betty, I have to tell you, the situation is quite serious, Specialist Martinez said after examining her system. We found extensive evidence of illegal downloading, including copyrighted movies, music, and some very concerning illegal content. However, we can help your grandson avoid prosecution if you cooperate with our evidence removal protocol. Martinez explained that their Family Protection Service could eliminate all traces of the illegal activity and provide legal documentation proving that the crimes had been committed by outside hackers using Betty's internet connection. The service cost $1,800 but would guarantee that Tommy would face no criminal charges. Betty didn't have that much money readily available, but the thought of Tommy going to prison motivated her to consider borrowing from her retirement savings. Martinez insisted on payment through gift cards, explaining that cash transactions couldn't be traced by the criminal networks that had allegedly used her computer. Red flags finally appeared when Martinez refused to provide any official badge numbers or allow Betty to verify the investigation through her local police department. When Betty asked to speak with Tommy before making any payments, Martinez became aggressive and threatened to issue arrest warrants immediately. Betty's neighbor heard her crying and came over to check on her. When Betty explained the situation, her neighbor immediately recognized the scam. Betty, this is fraud, she said firmly. Real police don't call you demanding gift card payments, and they certainly don't investigate crimes over the phone. The realization that she'd been manipulated made Betty feel foolish and heartbroken. She called Tommy immediately, who confirmed that he'd never accessed any illegal content on her computer. The evidence the scammers claimed to find was completely fabricated to exploit her love for her grandson. Betty reported the scam to local police and the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. Detective Johnson explained that fake law enforcement scams targeting grandparents were particularly cruel because they exploited family relationships and parental fears. Betty's report helped authorities identify similar operations targeting elderly victims. Betty now volunteers with senior protection programs, warning other grandparents about family emergency scams. These criminals know exactly how to manipulate our love for our grandchildren, she explains. Always verify any legal claims through official channels, and remember that real police officers don't demand gift card payments over the phone. Thomas thought answering a call about his expired antivirus software would be a simple customer service interaction. The 39-year-old small business owner had no idea he was about to experience a psychological manipulation that would test everything he believed about computer security and trust. Thomas ran a small landscaping business and used his home office computer for invoicing, scheduling, and client communications. When he received a call from someone claiming to represent his antivirus software company, he assumed it was a routine renewal reminder. The caller had his full name and seemed to know details about his software subscription. Hello, Mr. Thomas. This is security analyst Karen from Premium Antivirus Solutions, the caller began. I'm calling because our monitoring systems have detected that your antivirus subscription expired 3 days ago, leaving your business computer completely vulnerable to cyber attacks. We're seeing increased hacking attempts targeting your IP address. Karen explained that Thomas's unprotected computer was already showing signs of infection, with multiple viruses attempting to access his business files and client information. As a business owner, you're particularly at risk because criminals target small businesses for financial data and customer records, she warned. The suggestion that his client's information could be compromised motivated Thomas to take the call seriously. Karen offered to run an emergency security scan to assess the damage and restore his protection immediately. She emphasized that every minute without antivirus protection increased the risk of catastrophic data loss. Following Karen's instructions, Thomas downloaded updated security software that would provide enhanced protection for his business computer. The software immediately began displaying alarming warnings about detected threats, including advanced business trojans and customer data harvesting malware that seemed specifically designed to target small businesses. "Mr. Thomas, this is worse than we initially thought," Karen said after reviewing the scan results. "The hackers have installed sophisticated malware that's specifically designed to steal customer payment information and business banking credentials. Your entire business operation is at risk of being compromised." Karen explained that their emergency business protection protocol could eliminate all threats and provide premium security monitoring for his business computer. The service cost $800 but included guaranteed protection against all future attacks and 24/7 monitoring for suspicious activity. Thomas hesitated at the cost, but Karen's warnings about losing his business and facing liability for compromised customer data pushed him toward agreement. She explained that the payment needed to be processed immediately through wire transfer to activate the emergency protection before more damage occurred. Red flags emerged when Karen refused to provide written documentation or allow Thomas to verify the charges through his original antivirus software account. When Thomas suggested calling back after checking with his accountant, Karen became pushy and warned that delays could result in complete business data destruction. Thomas's wife overheard the conversation and became suspicious of the high-pressure tactics. "Honey, legitimate software companies don't demand immediate wire transfers over the phone," she whispered. "This sounds like those scams we've read about in the news." Thomas told Karen he needed to verify the charges through his actual antivirus software account and hung up. When he logged into his real account online, he discovered that his subscription was still active and had never expired. The entire security emergency had been fabricated to pressure him into paying for unnecessary services. The next day, Thomas learned that the same scammer operation had targeted several other small business owners in his area, using expired software notifications as pretext for selling fake security services. One restaurant owner had paid $1,200 before realizing the fraud. Thomas reported the scam to the Federal Trade Commission and his state's Consumer Protection Agency. Investigator Rodriguez explained that these fake renewal scams were particularly effective because they contacted people who actually used the software products, making the initial contact seem legitimate. Thomas now shares his experience with other small business owners through his local chamber of commerce. These scammers specifically target business owners because they know we're afraid of data breaches and customer liability, he explains. Always verify any software issues through the company's official website or your actual account, not through unsolicited phone calls. Here's what happened to Carol after she searched for help with her slow computer and clicked on what appeared to be a helpful tutorial website. The 56-year-old office manager thought she was finally going to learn how to speed up her aging laptop, but instead walked into a carefully orchestrated trap. Carol had been frustrated with her personal laptop's performance for weeks. Programs took forever to load, websites crashed frequently, and simple tasks like checking email had become exercises in patience. Determined to fix the problem herself rather than pay for expensive repairs, she searched online for computer running slow solutions. The website she found looked professional and informative, featuring detailed articles about computer optimization, user testimonials, and a prominent free computer health check tool. Carol downloaded the diagnostic software, expecting it to identify why her laptop was running so poorly and provide helpful optimization suggestions. Within minutes of running the diagnostic tool, Carol's screen filled with alarming warnings about critical system errors, security vulnerabilities, and performance issues. The software claimed to have detected dozens of problems that were severely compromising her computer's functionality and putting her personal information at risk. A pop-up window appeared offering immediate assistance from their technical support specialists, who could resolve all the detected issues remotely. Feeling overwhelmed by the technical jargon and worried about her personal data, Carol called the provided support number, hoping to get professional help. "Computer Optimization Services, this is Senior Technician Michael," answered a knowledgeable-sounding man. "I can see from our diagnostic results that your computer is in critical condition. The scan detected multiple registry corruptions, malware infections, and system file damages that require immediate professional intervention. Michael explained that Carol's computer problems were actually symptoms of a sophisticated cyber attack designed to steal personal information and financial data. Ma'am, the hackers have installed rootkits that are invisible to standard security software. They're currently monitoring your online activities and copying your passwords. The thought of criminals watching her online activities and potentially accessing her bank accounts terrified Carol. Michael offered to demonstrate the extent of the infection by connecting to her computer remotely and showing her the hidden threats that standard users couldn't detect. Following Michael's instructions, Carol granted remote access to her computer and watched as he opened command prompts and system files that displayed confusing technical information. Michael pointed out various codes and processes that he claimed were evidence of active hacking attempts. "Mrs. Carroll, this is one of the most severe infections I've encountered," Michael said gravely. "The malware has created multiple backdoors that criminals are using to access your system 24/7. Without immediate remediation, you're looking at complete identity theft and financial ruin." Michael explained that their advanced threat removal service could completely eliminate all infections and provide lifetime protection against future attacks. The service cost $900, but included ongoing monitoring and guaranteed security that would prevent any future compromises. Carol worried about the high cost, but felt she had no choice given the severity of the threats Michael had demonstrated. When she hesitated, Michael pointed out that identity theft recovery could cost thousands of dollars and take years to resolve. Red flags appeared when Michael insisted on payment through prepaid debit cards, claiming that traditional payment methods could be intercepted by the same hackers who had compromised her system. When Carol asked for written estimates or company references, Michael became evasive and pressured her to make an immediate decision. Carol's daughter called during the middle of the conversation to check on her. When Carol explained the computer emergency, her daughter immediately recognized the scam tactics. "Mom, legitimate tech companies don't use scare tactics or demand prepaid card payments," she said firmly. Carol told Michael she needed to consult with her family and ended the call. Her daughter helped her research the company online and discovered numerous complaints about fraudulent tech support scams using identical tactics. The diagnostic software Carol had downloaded was actually designed to create fake error messages. Carol's experience helped local authorities understand how these scams targeted older adults who were trying to solve legitimate computer problems. Her detailed report contributed to investigations that eventually shut down the fraudulent operation and led to criminal charges against the organizers. Carol now volunteers with digital literacy programs at her local library, teaching other seniors about recognizing tech support scams. "These criminals exploit our desire to fix our own problems and our trust in technology experts," she explains. "Always seek help from established, local computer repair shops rather than unknown websites or unsolicited callers." Let me tell you about David, who discovered that downloading a simple software update would transform his computer into a weapon of psychological warfare wielded by criminals who nearly convinced him that his entire digital life was under attack. David, a 48-year-old insurance agent, prided himself on keeping his work computer updated with the latest security patches and software versions. When a pop-up notification appeared claiming that his Adobe Flash Player needed an urgent security update, he immediately clicked to download it, not wanting to leave his system vulnerable to attacks. The update appeared to install normally, but within hours David's computer began behaving erratically. His web browser redirected to strange websites, pop-up advertisements filled his screen constantly, and his computer ran increasingly slowly. Most alarming were the frequent security warnings claiming that his system was under active attack. A particularly urgent warning appeared claiming that David's computer had been infected with advanced persistent threats that were specifically targeting insurance professionals. The alert provided a phone number for emergency cybersecurity response and warned that immediate action was required to prevent catastrophic data loss. Cybersecurity Emergency Hotline. "This is lead analyst Rodriguez," answered a serious-sounding woman when David called. "Mr. David, I can see from our monitoring systems that your computer is currently under a coordinated cyber attack. The criminals are specifically targeting insurance agents to steal client personal information." Rodriguez explained that David's computer had been infected with state-of-the-art malware designed to harvest client social security numbers, financial records, and medical information. These attacks are specifically aimed at insurance professionals because of the valuable personal data you have access to, she warned. The suggestion that his client's sensitive information could be compromised horrified David. As an insurance agent, he was legally required to protect client confidentiality, and any data breach could result in massive fines, lawsuits, and the loss of his professional license. Rodriguez offered to connect David with their forensic recovery team, who could assess the damage and implement emergency countermeasures to protect his client's information. She emphasized that every minute of delay gave the attackers more time to steal sensitive data and potentially destroy David's career. Following Rodriguez's instructions, David downloaded advanced diagnostic software that would help the recovery team understand the full extent of the attack. The software immediately began displaying terrifying results, showing active data transfers, compromised client files, and evidence of ongoing surveillance. "Mr. David, this is extremely serious," the forensic specialist said after examining the results. "The attackers have already copied your entire client database and are currently transmitting it to servers overseas. We need to implement our professional liability protection protocol immediately." The specialist explained that their emergency response service could stop the data transmission, recover stolen information, and provide legal documentation proving that David had taken all reasonable steps to protect his clients. The service cost $1,500 but would guarantee complete recovery and legal protection. David felt trapped between protecting his clients and the substantial cost of the service. When he hesitated, the specialist warned that state insurance regulators were already investigating data breaches in his area, and any agent found to have inadequate security measures could face license suspension. Red flags emerged when the specialist insisted on immediate payment through cryptocurrency, claiming that traditional payment methods could be traced by the attackers. When David asked to review the service contract, the specialist became aggressive and threatened to disconnect the protective measures already in place. David's business partner happened to call during the crisis. When David explained the emergency, his partner immediately became suspicious. "David, that sounds like those tech support scams we've heard about," he said. "Real cybersecurity companies don't operate like that." David told the specialist he needed to verify the emergency through his actual IT support company and hung up. His legitimate IT consultant examined the computer and found that the Flash Player update had actually been malware designed to create fake security alerts and drive victims to call the scammer's phone number. The next day, David learned that the same operation had targeted dozens of other insurance agents across 3 states, using profession-specific threats to pressure victims into paying for fake cybersecurity services. Several agents had lost thousands of dollars before recognizing the fraud. David reported the scam to his state insurance commission and the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. The investigation revealed a sophisticated operation that specifically researched different professions to create targeted scam campaigns using industry-specific fears and terminology. David now leads cybersecurity awareness sessions for his local insurance agents association. "These criminals study our industry and use our professional fears against us," he explains to his colleagues. "Real cybersecurity emergencies don't require immediate cryptocurrency payments, and legitimate IT companies provide written documentation for their services." Meet Jennifer, a 29-year-old graphic designer who never expected that her late-night freelance work would make her the target of scammers pretending to be from her cloud storage company. Her experience would teach her that criminals are now sophisticated enough to know exactly when you're most vulnerable. Jennifer often worked late into the night on design projects, taking advantage of the quiet hours when she could focus without interruption. She stored all her client work on a popular cloud storage service that automatically synced her files across multiple devices. Around 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, while working on a major branding project, she received an urgent email claiming her account had been compromised. The email looked identical to legitimate notifications from her cloud storage provider, complete with proper logos, formatting, and even her correct account information. It warned that suspicious login attempts had been detected from an IP address in China, and that immediate action was required to prevent unauthorized access to her client files. Panic set in as Jennifer realized that losing her client work could destroy her freelance career and reputation. The email included a phone number for their 24/7 security emergency line and urged her to call immediately to secure her account before more damage occurred. Cloud Security Emergency Response. "This is Senior Security Analyst Williams," answered a professional-sounding man when Jennifer called. "Ms. Jennifer, I can see from our monitoring systems that your account is currently under attack by sophisticated hackers. They've already accessed several of your design files and are attempting to download your entire portfolio. Williams explained that the hackers were specifically targeting creative professionals because design files often contain valuable intellectual property and client confidential information. These criminals sell stolen creative work on underground markets, and they use client information for identity theft, he warned. The thought of her original designs being stolen and her clients' brands being compromised terrified Jennifer. Williams offered to walk her through emergency security protocols that would lock down her account and prevent further unauthorized access. He emphasized that time was critical because the hackers were actively downloading her files. Following Williams's instructions, Jennifer downloaded specialized security software that would help identify which files had been compromised and secure her account against future attacks. The software immediately began showing alarming results, indicating that dozens of her design files had been copied and that her client database was being accessed. Ms. Jennifer, this is quite serious, Williams said after reviewing the security scan. The hackers have gained access to your entire client portfolio, including confidential branding materials and corporate logos. They're currently selling your designs on illegal marketplaces and could destroy your professional reputation. Williams explained that their Creative Professional Protection Service could recover the stolen files, remove them from illegal marketplaces, and provide legal documentation proving that Jennifer had taken all reasonable steps to protect her client's intellectual property. The service cost $1,200 but would guarantee complete recovery and legal protection. Jennifer felt overwhelmed by the technical complexity and the potential career consequences. When she hesitated at the cost, Williams pointed out that losing even one major client due to stolen work could cost her much more than the security service fee. Red flags appeared when Williams insisted on immediate payment through digital gift cards, claiming that traditional payment methods could be traced by the same hackers who had compromised her account. When Jennifer asked to review the service agreement, Williams became pushy and warned that delays could result in permanent damage to her professional reputation. Jennifer's boyfriend woke up and found her stressed and crying at her computer. When she explained the emergency, he immediately became suspicious of the high-pressure tactics. "Jen, legitimate companies don't demand gift card payments at 2 a.m., he said. This sounds like those scams targeting people when they're tired and vulnerable. Jennifer told Williams she needed to verify the security breach through her actual cloud storage account and hung up. When she logged into her real account through the official website, she found no security alerts, no unauthorized access, and all her files were completely secure. The next morning, Jennifer discovered that the fake security email had been so convincing that even tech-savvy designers in her professional network had fallen for similar scams. The criminals had researched creative professionals' work habits and specifically targeted them during late-night hours when they were more likely to make impulsive decisions. Jennifer reported the scam to the Federal Trade Commission and her actual cloud storage provider. The company's security team explained that these midnight emergency scams were becoming increasingly sophisticated, with criminals timing their attacks for when victims were most vulnerable and least likely to think critically. Jennifer now advocates for cybersecurity awareness in creative professional communities. These scammers know exactly when we're most vulnerable, when we're tired, stressed, and afraid of losing our work, she explains at design conferences. Always verify security emergencies through official channels, especially when contacted outside normal business hours. These stories show us that scammers are getting more sophisticated, but knowledge is our best defense. Trust your instincts, verify everything independently, and remember, legitimate businesses never pressure you to act immediately.